Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Easy one first. For people who haven't had the chance to see John Wick 4 yet, what can they expect?
Well, a lot of action. You can expect that. It's probably the most insane action film you'll have ever seen, certainly in modern times. It's ups the ante from all the other movies and then some. But actually, it's the John Wick like thread of the story is really really working well in this one, I would say. You get some payoff. But yeah, the action is just on another level.
And I was lucky enough to actually see it in the IMAX. And yeah, what a ride. And the thing that just really struck me about it is how original it is and kind of the thought that's gone into it, the world building, which I know has kind of happened almost organically. I think from the first film, they weren't expecting there to be so many that came after it, and it's just expanded and expanded. And of course, just the production values and the incredible action set pieces. But what about for you? Had you been following the franchise all the way along? What was the appeal for you for jumping on board, and particularly with this film?
I've been asking the director since the first one to give me a part because I know Chad and David Leitch, the other director of the first one, going way back. And yeah, then I saw the first one. I was like just blown away. I expected it to be good. Um, but yeah, it's like you're gonna if you're gonna do an action film, you need to get in a John Wick movie because it is the best of the best, and especially this film, it's took it to a whole new level. I don't think, especially when it comes to the martial arts, and me being a martial artist myself, because you've got some other action films that are doing a great job action wise, but this puts the martial arts front and center. So that this is the one you want to be involved with. And I was really happy that it took, 4 films for me to get the opportunity because I love the character. And I think it's, yes, definitely one of the best John Wicks.
And what about this character? I mean, was there a slight part of you when you first read it, you were like, hang on, I train this hard, I do all these martial arts, and I'm going to be in a fat suit. I don't know me.
Yeah.
But I remember
First thought
seeing this.
was, well, I'm definitely not dieting anymore. Forget that. No, there was a little bit of a twinge of like, finally going to get to be in a John Wick movie and people aren't going to know it's me. I was a bit worried about that at first because, you want people to know it's you. Um, People keep saying that it looks like my brother anyway, so not so bad. But yeah, it was a great part. I actually relished the challenge to create this character, with the suit, with the prosthetics and everything, the German accent. And he was a really well written part. And it was a nice meaty role with a lot of dialogue, holding court over the poker table and everything. So it was a great scene to be able to do that with Keanu and Donnie and Shamier, and then to get in the mix with the action. It was perfect. Couldn't have turned out better. I loved it.
And I was watching that Val Kilmer documentary recently, and there was one bit where he actually says he was jealous of Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. He wanted to play a villain. He was almost more boring playing Batman. Is there an element of that? Is there something like really to
Yeah.
relish about leaning in to the villain and creating that voice and that cackle? And so, how did you prepare that? And did you also think a bit about kind of his backstory, because it is important in the John Wick world, where everyone's coming from and how they fit in. So how was the prep in that sense?
Yeah, of course, all the above. And it is the most fun to play a villain, especially, you've got to understand the tone of the movie, first of all. So, if it's Batman Forever or whatever, you've got license to really go for it. And with this one as well, the tone is it's reality plus, so you can go big. And I figured, well, I'm in the suit anyway. We've got the prosthetics. Instinctually, I felt like I should go big with this character, but not too far, but maybe have a little bit of fun. And I think we found the right balance. And yeah, like I would say to Chad on the set, I would say, "Do you think I'm going too much? Do you want me to rein it in a little bit?" And he was always like, "No, man, just keep doing what you're doing. It's working out great." And so yeah, it's a lot of fun. Playing the villain is more fun.
And in terms of kind of the martial arts side of things, obviously you're no stranger to doing that on a set, but really the level of choreography that must go into pulling off some of these stunts. Did you find that it was like a new challenge? And how is the prep for that? And even having to do it inside those prosthetics and in that suit, was that a completely different experience?
Yeah, obviously a different experience with the suit on, and that did have its challenges. I was connected to a cooling suit underneath because you would quickly overheat with all the lights and everything. You have to plug it into this. You'd have like this pipe that looked like it was coming out of your backside that you would plug into this ice bucket and would shoot this ice cold water around you. So overheating was an issue, especially when you started fighting. But luckily for me, it wasn't long before I was drenched in water in the basement of that club anyway. So that helped. In terms of the choreography, it wasn't that difficult. It wasn't that difficult. I mean, it's just another day at the office for me. Um, I've done a lot of those sorts of movies, so I was ready to go.
And in fact, talking about that scene, it actually really reminded me of another favorite scene in another favorite film, in Blade. You know, the opening scene where they're kind of in the club. Obviously, in that
Yeah,
sense, I think it
it's
starts raining
amazing.
blood. But
Yeah.
I just love, like, how much detail that's gone into that, and how epic it is. I mean, what was it like being on these sets sometimes? And, the fact that it is so stylized, did it require kind of a different level of perfection, to pull it off?
I mean, it's perfection to look at, isn't it? It's a beautiful looking film. Dan Louston, it's just phenomenal. The pictures that he's created, the colors and the shadows and the lights. The set was absolutely incredible. It was a $10 million set apparently, and Chad, I think he said his was a plumber, and so he'd seen these like waterworks before, and he was inspired to bring that into the club. But you've got to get like all these gallons of water 3 floors up now in this industrial building is no mean feat. I mean, the engineering that went into that was incredible, I'm told. So for me to be involved in the sequence and for that club to be my characters and to see all those extras, it was quite something. It was amazing to look at. And then in the film, when you see it and it comes through the water and it goes into the club and the music's great as well. Yeah, phenomenal. It's a great section of the movie, but there's so many great sections of the film.
And you were mentioning, of course, you get this great moment where you actually kind of get to bounce off all the different characters. And I know you've worked with the Donnie before, but Shamier Anderson, has such a great role as well. I believe he's, has background in martial arts. And then, of course, Keanu Reeves. I mean, what is it about this guy? First of all, he doesn't seem to age, but also he's just endlessly watchable. What is it about him that just keeps bringing audiences back and makes him shine so much in films like this?
Well, he's not bad to look at, is he? He's got a good old face on him, old Keanu. He doesn't age, you're right. Um, he should be in a vampire film. Uh, but he's got an honesty about him, hasn't he? He's got like John Wick is the greatest assassin, the Baba Yaga, but inhabited by Keanu. He's such a likable personality that you can't help but get behind him and root for him. So, the killing of the puppy helped in the first one as well. But when he goes on a killing spree and kills 100 men, probably more in this film, um, you're right behind him because he's just got that likability. He's a movie star. He's a true movie star, and he doesn't need to say a lot. He can say a lot through his eyes and through his performance. I believe he was taking dialogue away. He would throw dialogue away, um, and it's all there in his earnest performance.
And I think I'm almost out of time, but just finally, what do you think people can take away from watching? I mean, it does just feel like escapism in one way, and just such a thrilling action film. But because there is that kind of depth to the world creation and this really interesting tone, I think it's also got other layers to it. And then just finally, also, can you tell us what you might be working on next, or is there any role that you'd really love to play in future that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Well, that's a lot of questions. With John Wick, I mean, you've got to go and see it on the big screen because it's phenomenal to look at. I do believe it's one of the best action films ever made, certainly of recent times. So you've got to go and see it on the big screen. And yeah, I've got some interesting projects coming up. I just finished one called One More Shot, which is kind of like action version of 1917, all done in the one take. That was extremely tiring. I was happy for a break.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and really can't wait for everyone to get to the cinema and see John Wick 4. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sarah. Thank you.
Nice to chat to you. Thanks. Bye.